Okay, thanks everyone. We'll make a start. Members of the public are advised that the meeting will be live streamed and recorded, and the live stream recording will be made publicly available on YouTube and Council's website. Nillumbik Shire Council respectfully acknowledges the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people as the traditional owners of the country on which Nillumbik is located, and we value the significance of the Wurundjeri people's history as essential to the unique character of the Shire. We pay tribute to all First Nations people living in Nillumbik, give respect to elders past, present and future, and extend that respect to all First Nations people. We respect the enduring strength of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung and acknowledge the ongoing impacts of past trauma and injustices from European invasion, massacres and genocide committed against First Nations people. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people hold a deep and ongoing connection to this place. We value the distinctive place of our First Nations people in both Nillumbik and Australia's identity, from their cultural heritage and care of the land and waterways to their ongoing contributions in many fields, including academia, agriculture, art, economics, law, sport and politics. And I'll now hand over to Councillor Perkins to read the Good Governance Pledge.
Thanks, Mayor Imtran. As councillors, we are mindful of our civic responsibilities and obligations. We pledge to take them seriously and to carry them out with diligence and integrity. We know the decisions we take will affect the people and environment of Nillumbik now and into the future. We undertake, therefore, to make sound and principled decisions of lasting value in a spirit of fairness and for the good of all. We also pledge to serve the needs and well-being of the community and the environment in an open and honest manner and to the best of our abilities.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. I'd now like to introduce Captain Alison Footer from the Salvation Army. After having moved from Western Australia just before the pandemic, Alison has been living in this community for 4 years now and is loving the supportive and caring community in which she resides. Alison's role in the Salvation Army changed this year, as this time she is supporting the wider state of Victoria, serving as a chaplain to the Salvo's family and domestic violence services. In her role, Alison works largely supporting staff who hold other people's stories of trauma and work tirelessly with those who need access to their services. She also supports women and children who have experienced family and domestic violence, connecting them with communities who can support and nurture them. Thank you, Alison. Sorry, Alison, if you could just turn your microphone on. Thank you.
My apologies. Thank you for having me. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that not everyone here tonight or even online has a faith in God and is comfortable with prayer, and that's totally okay. I do, however, ask that maybe we just observe a moment of silence, a moment of quiet reflection, just so that we can ground our minds and our bodies in preparation for tonight's meeting. So for those who are comfortable, please pray with me. God of heaven and earth, we thank you for the wisdom which you have imparted on us. We thank you for the courage you give us to speak against injustice, to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. May we also have wisdom and courage to acknowledge when we are wrong. May we have hearts and minds that are open to hearing perspectives and opinions that are different to ours. I give thanks to the people in this room who have answered the call to serve their community. May you bless them each as they give of themselves to serve others. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Alison. We have no apologies and there are no presentations, so I'll move us on to confirmation of minutes. So I'll look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. That Council 1 confirms the minutes of the Council meeting and confidential Council meeting held on Tuesday the 28th of February 2023 in Attachments 1 and Attachments 2. And 2, resolves that the confidential Council meeting minutes, Attachment 2, remains confidential in accordance with Section 3, 1A and F of the Local Government Act 2020.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Payne. Those in favour? All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thanks, everyone. The next item is disclosure of conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest, councillors? There are no petitions, so we'll move on to questions from the gallery. And we have two from David Smith. Is David Smith here tonight. Hi, David. Question 1. If Council is serious about reconciliation with First Nations tribes, then Council should invite the Wurundjeri people to speak at the beginning of Council's monthly meetings. Have Council invited the Wurundjeri people to the monthly Council meetings to make opening remarks? And the response is, Council currently hold monthly cultural consultations with Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation. These consultation meetings have been taking place for over 2 years and provide Council with guidance for many projects and programs. Council currently invite an elder from the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation at the beginning of each new Council term. Council have also recently proposed future funding in the draft budget to invite an elder from the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation to attend a Council meeting once a year to provide a welcome to country and a smoking ceremony. So that's the response to question 1. And the second question. The CFA will not go down Bella Vista Court in Plenty due to the extremely narrow road, lack of alternative escape routes, and the fire danger posed by the tall pine trees which are located on council land in the roadway. This causes significant stress to the residents of this area. Council have not connected Namatjira Avenue to Grange Road, so there is only one way in and one way out. Why have Council protected these dangerous pine trees while they deemed the pine plantation on the Plenty Primary School not of significance and cut these down to make housing? And the response is, Council's Municipal Fire Management Planning Committee, Fuel Management Working Group, consisting of subject matter experts in advising Council on bushfire-related risk on roadsides, unanimously agreed that the pine trees in Bella Vista Court Plenty do not pose a significant additional fire hazard to the area, will not be included in the review of primary and secondary roads in Nillumbik as it does not fit the criteria, and while the group accepts that access and egress to the area is negatively impacted by the trees, their removal would not result in any significant improvement of access and egress in an emergency. The former Plenty Primary School is on private land, and the provisions of the Nillumbik planning scheme exempt the requirement for the applicant at the time to seek a planning approval for the removal of the specific pine trees from the site. And that's the response to question 2. So we'll move on to reports from advisory committees, and I'll look for a motion. Nat, Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move that the council, the minutes. Oh, sorry, I'm not quite sure what that is. I'll just say that that we will move the motion. That the minutes of the advisory committee meetings reported in attachment 1 of the papers are noted.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. We will fix up that typo. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Eyre. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I'd just like to again acknowledge the people who give up their time in the community to be part of our advisory committees. There are lots of advisory committees covering a broad range of topics. We'll be going through some of those later on in the council meeting, but the meetings that took place in the last period have been the Youth Advisory Committee, which we call the Youth Council, the Inclusion and Access Advisory Committee, the Positive Ageing Committee, the Panton Hill Bushland Reserve, Living and Learning, and Arts and Culture. So that's a lot, and that's not all of them. So, please, I encourage the community to read through the minutes, to have a look at the good work that the community members are doing in their recommendations and their discussions with council. And one of the things, just following on from the question that we've had from David today, in the Youth Council, one of the Youth Council members at the last Youth Council meeting made the suggestion that it would be good in the Youth Council to have a Wurundjeri elder come along to give a presentation to the Youth Council. So that's another extension of the interest and the willingness for many in the community to walk with First Nations people to advance reconciliation. So there are lots of little nuggets of gold in the minutes, so I encourage people to have a look through the notes to see the work of the advisory committees, and encourage people who are out there that may be interested in getting involved in the advisory committees to get in contact with council as well.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Eyre? Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the endorsement of Youth Council Advisory Committee members 2023 to 2025, and I'll look for a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to
Councillor-
jump in and do that too. Thank you.
Councillor Duffy?
Thank you. The recommendation is about the endorsement of the Youth Council. So maybe if we could scroll up a little bit, or actually I'll just read from the papers actually. The recommendation, first point is that Council endorses the 15 applicants listed in attachment 2 on the Nillumbik Youth Advisory Committee, so that they are able to be a Youth Council member. Point 2, authorises council officers to appoint the next available applicant to the assessment results if an appointed applicant declines or resigns from the advisory committee, and acknowledges and thanks all committee members who submitted applications to the Youth Advisory Committee. And the last point, resolves that the assessment results that are in attachment 1 are to remain confidential on the grounds specified under the relevant section of the Local Government Act. And lastly, that tonight we resolve that the successful applicants be named.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Eyre. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say that the Nillumbik Youth Council has been operating for 2 years, and it's been a privilege working with our Youth Council as their assigned councillor over this time. These young people aged between 15 and 25 have been a strong voice for our young people and have set a great example in this inaugural term of what can be achieved when youth come together with council with a shared vision. I'd like to congratulations to the Youth Council for their work on delivering the youth strategy, running our first youth summit, and advocating for a youth hub along with members' individual passion projects that they advocate for. As an advisory committee, the Youth Council provides our community with valuable insights into the needs of the youth of Nillumbik. The benefits go both ways. The Youth Council members receive opportunities to develop their leadership skills, their confidence, and to open doors that may not have been easy for them to open otherwise. The council term is for 2 years, and I'd like to see that council extends this leadership opportunity to as many young people as possible. Whilst I acknowledge that our terms of reference currently allow for members to reapply for a second term, it's my view that we should limit this to allow more young people the opportunity to shine and develop and represent their peers. Before we go through and look at the next Youth Council, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the current Youth Council members by name. Our Youth Mayor, Brianne Keogh, our Youth Deputy Mayor, Chiara Imbriano, other Youth Council members, Martina Charambelis, Neve Coffey, Bailey Cumming, Oriana Edmonds, Marley Curter-Rice, Jack Lynham, Indiana Sandwell, Fika Vanderkamp, Lachlan Wordsworth, and Reese Warillo. Thank you to all of you for your energy, your enthusiasm, your positivity, your dedication, and your ideas. Just before I wrap up, I'd just like to say thank you to the 21 young people who've nominated to be part of our next Youth Council. I applaud you for your desire to make Nillumbik a better place, for the endeavours that you are currently undertaking, and for putting your hand up to represent young people of our area. Unfortunately, Council has only 15 positions available. I tried to extend this to 17 when we first established the Youth Council a couple of years ago, but was unsuccessful. But for those applicants who have not been selected to the Youth Council positions on this occasion, please don't be discouraged. Stay active, please stay involved. A local high school has the saying that you don't have to wear a badge to be a leader. So to all young people in Nillumbik, I say make your mark and be the change that you want to see in the world. So council officers have undertaken an assessment process, and tonight we're going to welcome 15 young people to step into our second Youth Council, and I wish them all a lot of fun and a sense of satisfaction and achievement in their role as Youth Council members.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Eyre?
Only to say thank you to our outgoing Youth Council members and those that are about to be endorsed. And I think it's absolutely amazing that they're dedicating their time, and I loved seeing them thrive through all the experiences that they've been given this year, including last year they had the Youth Summit. So that's all I really needed to say is well done to them all.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? Councillor Stockman.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'd also like to say thanks to all the youth councillors or youth council members going out, and just wanted to correct that it is Brianne Mills now, not Brianne Keogh.
Thanks for that, Councillor Stockman. That is duly noted. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. And we'll now name the successful applicants. Over to you, Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you. In the 15 applicants that have been successful are Fika Vanderkamp, Neve Coffey, Ailet Yahav Zluf. Please accept my apologies if I've mispronounced your name, Ailet, and for anybody else that I may mispronounce their name. Joshua Adams, Alicia Chechi, Oriana Edmonds, Sophie McDonald, Kira Imbriano, Bailey Cumming, Soren Kean, Emily Yin, Ava Paley, Scarlett Maganini, and Martina Charam. I'm going to mispronounce this. Sorry, Martina. Martina Charambolis, Aisha Pelly. I'll have to get some work done on those pronunciations. Apologies.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. That was a big effort. We'll move on to the Youth Strategy Implementation Plan Year 1 Review and Year 2 Plan. And I'll look for a mover. Councillor
Yes,
Payne.
I am happy to move the recommendation that Council 1 notes the Youth Strategy 2022-2026 Year 1 Progress Report as per Attachment 2. 2 makes the Nillumbik Youth Wrap-Up 22 report as per Attachment 3 publicly available on the Council's website. And 3 endorses the Youth Strategy 2022-2026 Year 2 Implementation Plan 2023 as per Attachment 4.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Duffy. Councillor Payne.
Just to add from the previous motion, fantastic work done by not only the Youth Council and the Youth of Nillumbik, but the youth team here at Council for bringing this all together. They're very much on a roll. And yes, I just wanted to thank the council officers for the work that they're doing. And clearly, whatever work they're doing is resonating within the community and with Nillumbik's youth. So well done.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll just speak for a moment to the priority areas that are in the youth strategy. Health and wellbeing is 1. Empowered and engaged is the 2nd. Access to safe spaces and places, the 3rd. Equipped and employed is the 4th. And the final area of highlight is welcome and connected. So, again, I would echo Councillor Payne's words in congratulating the Youth Council, the youth that have participated in pulling this together, and our fabulous team of staff in the communities area that focus their attention on making Nillumbik a great place to be if you're a young person. And particularly acknowledge the hard work that has been put in by the council officers and the youth in looking at a youth hub, what that would look like, where it could go, and what it could be. So, there are lots of things that the team is working towards, and this implementation plan is great to see the actions that have happened and the ones that are proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Which brings us to the next item, Recreational Trails Advisory Committee Terms of Reference, and I'll look for a motion. Councillor Stockman.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to move the motion to accept the officer's recommendation that Council thanks and acknowledges the outgoing members of the Recreational Trails Advisory Committee for their advice and contribution to Council's work to represent the diverse views, ideas and needs of users of Nillumbik's trails. 2, endorses the revised terms of reference for the Recreational Trails Advisory Committee in Attachment 1. And 3, endorses the recruitment process for the Recreational Trails Advisory Committee to renew the committee by July 2023. And 4, instructs officers to report nominations to the Recreational Trails Advisory Committee to Council for endorsement in June 2023.
Thank you, Councillor Stockman. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Egan. Councillor Stockman.
Thanks, Mayor. This is obviously a very, very important committee, and one that I can proudly say I've been part of since I've been on council. Trails and also active transport saves families money. That's its cheapest form of transport. There's so many health and wellbeing benefits, environmental benefits, I think we all agree in council that it's very, very important for trails. There is a bit of an issue which always comes up, which is budget. So to maintain trails is very hard, but also to formulate new ones and ones that cross bilaterally, or ones that can even connect train stations to other parts and make them accessible, or sporting grounds or anything. So they are very important, but the budget is very hard just for councils to form on their own. Yesterday, as part of, I've been on the Trails Committee, I'm also on the exec of the Metropolitan Transport Forum, and we went to 121 Exhibition Street up to level 36 to the Minister's Overseer, Minister Carroll. And with active transport and recreational trails, we sort of had to go around about a bit to get to where the budget comes to access that. And we're putting in another meeting with Minister Horn, who actually looks after that area. So we're going to look for money, and it is important, and it sort of saddens me that we don't, we're lacking a bit in Victoria for money for trails, and that can really affect us in the committee. But the committee going out, fantastic committee. It's been a big pleasure to be with them for 2 years, but also looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Councillor Stockman. Councillor Egan. That's all right.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I love this group for a couple of different reasons, apart from what Richard's already mentioned. Councillor Stockman, my apologies. The fact is there is a lot of groups in here where we've got different representatives, and people sometimes assume that some of these groups are actually groups that don't get along. And I think this whole committee, which has been going for a while now, is testament to the fact that people can get along and can work together, and they do some great work just in terms of looking after the trails, especially out where I am. And it's just really great to see all these different people getting together and doing things for every different person who uses the trails. I'm a horse rider, and when I go riding, aren't you scared of the bikes? But no, they see us and they stop and they get off. Everybody's very respectful. And we all get along, and one of the reasons is because of this committee. So, I'm totally in support of it.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Any other councillors? Councillor Duffy?
Thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge the great work that's done by the outgoing members of the Recreational Trails and Advisory Committee. With the opening of the Diamond Creek Trail extension to Hurstbridge last year, we heard the stories and persistence that made that extension happen. I'd like to thank all the members of the committee for giving back to the community in this way to create a legacy of trails that considers the environment, horse riders, cyclists, walkers, the rural and urban parts of the Shire, and considers accessibility for people of all abilities. I'd like to give a particular shout out to Edendale resident Andrew Bakos for his contribution and advocacy. And there's more to come as we work through towards the Diamond Creek Trail improvements, the Aqueduct Trail and more. And I think one of the community groups, Trailblazers, is a fabulous name for what this has happened in the area of trails. There's been a real trailblazing in this area, and these people that have been part of this committee, certainly we can say that they're trailblazers in what they've been able to create as a legacy. There's something there that we can see and we can enjoy, and it's not just for now, it's for the long time to come.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the quarterly risk and safety report, and I'll look for a motion. Councillor Payne.
Yes, happy to move the motion that 1, Council notes the summary of the confidential risk and safety report as per attachment 1 for the quarter ending December 2022, and 2, resolves that the attached risk and safety report as per attachment 1 remains confidential in accordance with section 3, 1A and F of the Local Government Act 2020.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Eyre. Councillor Payne.
Just a quick thank you to Jeremy Livingston and Craig Kamain for the work they do in compiling the report, keeping us on the straight and narrow. And point number 10, overall incidents are consistent with the previous year. However, significant rain and storm events were experienced during the December 2022 quarter. So we're being well looked after.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? and that is carried unanimously. The next item is Living and Learning Nillumbik Neighbourhood House Advisory Committee membership recommendation, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll actually read from here, it's a bit easier. That Council 1 endorses the additional nominee listed for appointment, 2023-25, Living and Learning Neighbourhood House Advisory Committee in Attachment 2, confidential, in applicant 1 for their role as Living and Learning Neighbourhood House Advisory Committee member. 2, acknowledges and thanks all community members who submitted expressions of interest to the Living and Learning Neighbourhood House Advisory Committee. And 3, resolves that the panel recommendations in Attachment 2 remain confidential on the grounds specified in the definition of the confidential information in Section 3(1)(f) of the Local Government Act 2020. And 4, resolves that the successful applicant be named.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Payne. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. This is very exciting for me. I went to my first meeting as chair in February and heard all about the fantastic activities, events and opportunities for community to meet on various topics. I'd like to note that these interactions help with reducing isolation and loneliness and helps promote positive physical and mental health outcomes. We have 3 council-run neighbourhood houses in Nillumbik, being Eltham, Panton Hill and Diamond Creek, and supports all manner of things including diversity, inclusion and community participation, facilitating community development and capacity building through groups and individuals, supporting employment pathways, and we know how important that has been of late, and of course supporting lifelong learning. I'm looking forward to being on this advisory committee and thank all members and officers for the dedication and passion in this space. And I'm very happy to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Councillor Payne. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. And Councillor Eyre, you can now name the successful applicant.
Congratulations, Alison Lynn Ellis, on being the next member of the Living and Learning Neighbourhood House Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. The next item is the Triennial Events and Festivals Programme, 2023 to 2026, Expression of Interest Assessment Report, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Mayor Ramcharan. I would like to move the motion as per the papers, except for one adjustment at the bottom. Item number 5, that resolves that the successful applicants be named.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Duffy. Councillor Payne.
Just to explain the Triennial Funding Program and Festivals Program, it has a number of limitations. One is that we have a total annual pool of $320,000 and we received 17 applications totalling over $660,000. So anyone can do the maths to see that we have to be careful who we allocate the funds to. The funding ranges from between $10,000 to $65,000 per annum. The theme of the grant applications, obviously, as a result of VAGO's report, is that it is a transparent and unbiased process. And of course, the assessment panel consists of 8 external members convened to assess the applications. So this has been done very much by the book, and this is what we can afford. So there will be those disappointed by the allocation of grants. We understand that. But we hope that we can do our best to support the festivals and events in Nillumbik.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Duffy?
Thank you. Just to follow on from what Councillor Payne has said, that these triennial grant fundings provide financial support to community groups to run festivals and events in the Shire, and they do this really well. They would actually probably do it better than what council would do in the way that they are able to leverage off the community, and there's such a spirit of excitement and volunteerism. The fund of $320,000 is its current amount. It would be great to see this increased. The work that's involved in managing these community festivals is huge. The groups that run them, whilst they could be exhausted and not want to ever do them again, turn out that to surprise us all the time by being energised by the outpouring of gratitude that they receive from people of all ages who look forward to these events and who attend them. Much loved the Diamond Creek Rotary Festival, the Eltham Festival run by the Rotary Club of Eltham, the Eltham Jazz Food and Wine Festivals, amongst some of the others. Thank you to everyone involved in all of these events, bringing us together, and from the organising committees right down to the community groups and the performers, the local businesses and the volunteers who make it all happen. The Rotary Club of Eltham is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and I can't imagine Eltham as a place without a Rotary Festival. They rely on this funding, and at the moment the funding is capped to $65,000 for the highest amount that we allocate. These festivals cost a lot more than that to run, so we're very grateful for the creative ways that the community groups are able to pull these festivals together. I've also learnt that the Eltham Mud Brick Tour, which showcases Nillumbik's Shire world-leading earth-building heritage, has been happening for over 40 years, receiving grant funding for council for around 10 years now. There was also an application, a new Big Earth Festival proposition. I think I'm allowed to say this, am I? Am I allowed to say the groups that put forward? No.
You're reading from a confidential report.
I didn't realise I wasn't allowed to indicate who the propositions were. I didn't realise that, so I'm sorry. I won't go into the details of that. My apologies for the error in mentioning the application for from a new group. I think I will just stop at this point there. But I do acknowledge the work that the community groups all do for the and appreciate the allocation that council makes to helping fund some of these events.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. And Councillor Payne. Sorry. Any other councillors? All right. I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously.
All right, I would like to congratulate the Diamond Creek Rotary Town Fair, the Eltham Jazz Food and Wine Festival, the Warrandyte Festival, the Hurstbridge Wattle Festival, St Andrews Community Festival, the Rotary Eltham Festival, the Nillumbik Artist Open Studios, the Night on the Hill Festival, the Open Sellers of Nillumbik for being successful applicants for the funding.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. The next item is Audit and Risk Committee meeting, and I will look for a motion.
I think that's
Councillor
me
Payne.
again, Mayor Turan, and I swing back into action here to move the motion as per the papers that the Council notes the minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 27th of February 2023 as per attachment 1.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Perkins. Councillor Payne.
Just to let you know that the Audit and Risk Committee meeting happened on that date at that time and all went well.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Perkins. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is Panton Hill Bushland Reserve System User Group Advisory Committee 2023 to 25, endorsement of an additional member, and I'll look for a motion. Councillor Egan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move a recommendation that Council 1 endorses the recommended applicant listed for membership of the Panton Hill Bushland Reserve System User Group Advisory Committee for the 23-25 term. Also, number 2 resolves that the evaluation panel assessment remain confidential on the grounds specified in the definition of confidential information in Section 3(1), Section F of the Local Government Act 2020. Resolves that the successful, it's from the dentist, applicant be named.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Duffy. Councillor Egan.
This is connected to what I was talking about before. Again, we've got 6 people out of the last committee that have been re-elected, which is great to see, so that just gives you an idea of their enthusiasm for the group, and we extended the number by 1, who's actually an ex. Turns out that they're an ex-member. That's sort of really all I've got to say. I said it all before. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously.
And the name of the successful applicant is Sue Ann Penrose.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. The next item is residential building at 1225 Main Road, Eltham, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. That Council 1 resolves to demolish the residential building on the land known as 1225 Main Road, Eltham, and reinstate the land as public open space. 2, request council officers to investigate options on future use of the parcel of land zoned public park and recreation zone, outlining the process for any community engagement requirements, and report back to council at a future council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Egan. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. The house on Alan Marshall Reserve has a long legacy, dating back to 1995 when it was purchased for public open space. And the house was on the land at that time, and it still is actually. This was the also one of the earliest inquiries I received when becoming a councillor, is what's happening with the house. And so the house has been deemed as not fit for purpose, and the residents have actually moved out this year. As part of that, officers have looked into other uses for the house, but no options are suitable based on the building structure, costs to bring it up to standard, just to list a few. And so this is why we're looking at the demolish, so to allow the land that the house is on to become part of the greater reserve. So it's exciting to be able to see the land from the house brought into the larger reserve and go out to community consultation. I've heard over the last 2.5 years from different residents asking, can we have some more picnic tables, maybe some pergolas or gazebo type things over barbecues and community gardens. So there's many options that could be looked at for the reserve as we go out to community consultation.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Councillor Egan? No. Any other councillors? Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I acknowledge this property was purchased many years ago with the view to transitioning the land to public open space, and applaud the council for that decision at the time. It's been leased out as a family abode for a long time, and the idea of council moving those people along did come up with some criticism many years ago. I did a Google search and found that a newspaper article about that. So it's been great that the family have been able to be accommodated for a long time and that they've chosen to move out now. I'm conflicted about the demolition of this building, as at the moment we have a housing crisis, and particularly at a time when in Edendale there are 52 people who've received the news that they're no longer able to live in the independent units at St Vincent's Care. I have had discussions with officers about what are the options that we have here for this building to be looked at as a place that council could consider for accommodating some of those that are affected. And the advice that has come back to me is that it's really not suitable and it would take a lot of money. And so I feel conflicted in voting on demolishing a building when there are other purposes that it could form. We've talked about needing art gallery space, community buildings, etc. But I do, take on board the comments from officers about, this building not being fit for purpose at the moment and being very expensive to refit into any form for use as a residential building or in a community capacity. So I just wanted to put that on the record that this is not an easy decision.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. So are you speaking for or against the motion? I'm still trying to make up my mind about whether I'm voting for or against this. I'm just making the statement that we have a housing crisis. We've got people who are experiencing that at the moment. Councillor Duffy.
So, yeah, I'd like council to be able to help.
Any other councillors? All right, in that case, I'll put the item to the vote. Those in favour? And those against?
Am I able to abstain?
You can abstain. So that's 6 in favour and 1 abstention. Thanks everybody, and that is carried. The next item is contract report for Infor Pathway, and I'll look for a motion. Councillor Perkins.
I'll move the motion as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Payne. Councillor Perkins. Councillor Payne. I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? And that one is carried unanimously. The next item is the contract for provision of garbage, recycle and organic waste collection services variation claim from JJ's Waste and Recycling. I'll look for a motion. Councillor Perkins.
Thanks, Mayor Emsher, and again, I'll move the motion as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Egan. Councillor Perkins.
Look, the report's self-explanatory. I'll leave that for people to read the report. I'm sure Council has, but people in the gallery, the agenda's been published and the information's in the papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan? Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the tender report for the Kangaroo Ground Caretaker's Cottage Conservation Works, and I'll look for a motion.
Yes, Mayor Atran, I'm happy to move the papers. Happy to move the motion as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Eyre. Councillor Payne.
Just to say that, as this evening shown, there are some properties that council can afford to renovate and some that we cannot. And it's a pity that we don't have the money to do it all, but this certainly, the Caretaker's Cottage at the Kangaroo Ground Memorial Tower is important, and it's something we value and we want to restore. So I'm pleased to announce we have a successful tender for this contract.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Eyre.
I need to say that I'm looking forward to seeing the Caretaker's Cottage have the works completed.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. And Councillor Payne will now name the preferred tenderer.
The successful tender is AJ Grant Building Proprietary Limited for the sum of $269,500 plus $40,425 for contingency inclusive GST for the contract. Congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. The next item is informal meetings of councillors' records, and I'll look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. The Council, in accordance with item 19 of Council's governance rule, meeting procedure, receives the informal meetings of councillors' records in attachment 1 for the meetings held.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Egan. Councillor Eyre. Councillor Egan. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. We have got no notice of motion, no delegates' reports, no supplementary or urgent business, no confidential reports, and so I declare the meeting closed at 7:45 p.m. Thanks, everybody.